Cyber Reapers. Hello, Cyber Reapers. So, tonight, or today, whenever, wherever you are, I would like to talk about a book. So, I apologize for the gap in uploading, because unfortunately the other day, I'm trying to not get worked up about it, but based on just a lot of stuff happening at once, I only had time really to read the book Thursday night, or the rest of it Thursday night, and then Friday came and I was going, okay, maybe I can record, edit, upload. I've done it all in a day before, but it was unfortunate timing in that there was a lot of noise going on outside, a lot of noise, and just, I could not edit that out, and apparently this is the best room in the house to record, so, yeah. So, I tried different ways to see if I could get a video up that week, but I just couldn't. So, this week, we are talking about the book that I did read last week. So it's been a minute. I've had time to have my own thoughts. Not that I don't usually have my own thoughts. I guess just I've had time to sit with my own thoughts. And I'm still pretty happy about the way this duology ended. So, the book we're talking about today is book 2 of 2 in a duology. You don't have to have read the first book or listened to my video on the first book to listen to this one. Because really overall I'm just going to be vaguely talking about the stuff in this book, as well as vaguely describing kind of the state of things after the first book. I'm very vague. So, The Blood Gift by Davenport is the book that I'm talking about today. And this is like a science fiction-y fantasy duology. And I don't actually know what audience it's for, if it's young adult, new adult, or adult. I could honestly see any of those, because the main characters are kind of around, around 19, 20 years old. I would say probably new adult is where I would place this duology. But yeah, we, just as a recap of kind of the first book of what was going on there, in case you want that. The first book, we follow our main character, Ikenna, and she is a very fierce protagonist, probably the fiercest I've read, and that's saying something considering I've read Iron Widow by Xian Zhizhao, also with a fierce protagonist. But it's like Ikenna is just so gritty, she is tough, she's even like a bit arrogant, bold, she has a lot of hubris, and sometimes that, gets her into difficult situations. But she learns, she experiences character growth, and really does have a strategic head on her shoulders, especially as she makes mistakes. Especially during the events of the first book, which are primarily about the Praetorian trials. Did I say that right? Praetorian? Trials to become, like, the part of the most elite soldiers of the Republic that Ikenna lives in. So that was our goal of the first book, was to get through those. And I guess I won't, spoil what happens there. But let's just say a lot of events happen, and then by the beginning of the second book, Ikenna and a small team of, her friends, allies, even frenemies, join up with her, and they're on the run from a lot of the nations that exist in this world. But they're out here trying to make allies with a lot of these nations because they're trying to take down the Blood Emperor, who, this Blood Emperor, was kind of an enemy in the first book, but you don't really meet him until the second one. So he's trying to spread his empire over pretty much the entire planet, and he is extremely powerful, an extremely skilled fighter, and he leads, an empire. And he has a blood gift. Ikenna does as well, though. And from what she's learning, she actually might be able to take on the Blood Emperor if she is able to hone her skills enough. So, because this Blood Emperor is tyrannical and is very, he's bloodthirsty, they want to take him down. And they also Ikenna also wants to enact change in her own government, in her own home. Because there's a lot all over the place that could use reform. And this book is really cathartic, I think, in showing how to heal and rebuild after a war. The events are very condensed in comparison to, say, like a real-life scale of, like, events that take place after a war. But I think it really does have just so much hope to it. I think that resonated with me quite a bit. Was just reading this duology and going, yeah, let's fight the government. Well, not fight the government, but fight specific people who are ruining the government. Let's enact reform. Let's enact good change. That kind of thing feels very, very pertinent to right now. So that's kind of that's overall what you're getting into. Now, I did learn something after reading this book that is kind of unfortunate and explains a little bit about the ending, because I think that's the thing that, from other reviews I've read, that's the thing that kind of people feel a little shaky about. They don't know whether they like it or don't like it. And it's because the ending has quite a lot of events. I'm not going to tell you exactly what. But I was really thinking, like, oh, this would be, like, exciting for a third book. That's because there were supposed to be 3 books. But apparently the publisher, something happened to where they wanted to shorten the original 3-book plan to 2 books. So this was not originally meant to be a duology, but a trilogy. And, I can understand how that would be really frustrating to write. Because I think there were elements that were supposed to be explored in the 3rd book that didn't get explored, but were set up to be. So the ending is kind of a lot. Now, I liked it. I did like the ending quite a bit. I mean, I do like this book quite a lot. But I just letting you know that this was originally meant to be a trilogy and it ended up being a duology. So, going into it, maybe if your expectations kind of know that, I think maybe you'll be able to enjoy the book a little more. What else to say before I get into the characters? Trying to think. No, actually, I'll just get into the characters. So I already kind of talked about Ikenna a little bit. She's our main character. She's very fierce, she's very bold, and she learns from her mistakes, and she learns to strategize, and she's also got a love interest, and I love these two together. They are really a power couple, and I don't feel like I read a lot of those. But these two really are a power couple, though, because they strategize together, they fight together, they have trust issues that they have to figure out how to resolve together. And they also have different types of vulnerabilities to where they kind of have to push back a bit against the other person a little bit to go like, hey, no, we're talking about this. You can't just run away from it. Let's be vulnerable for a second. And that's something that the two of them actually haven't really done before. And that's a really new kind of navigating, or a new experience for them to navigate. And while I can see that being like very much a first time experience sort of thing for them as warriors in this world, I also feel like it does really resonate with like the new adult audience, even like older teenagers to a certain extent, of kind of when you get past the straight up just attraction part of a relationship, and you're really going, wait, I actually have like vulnerable feelings now in regards to this other person who I really care about and don't want to lose. And then of course this book puts those characters in a situation where either of them could die at any moment, so the stakes are high. It feels really engaging to read that romance. Yeah. I will say also there is on-page spice or sex, so if you don't want to read that, that's it's about maybe 2 chapters in this whole book, but otherwise it's pretty otherwise the most of the book really does focus on Ikenna's character development and the giant overall political conflict that's going on, the war. And also like stuff about Ikenna's teammates, because there's a cluster of them. There's I think 8. The group of 8 kind of has to air out their grievances with each other in order to actually really work together and know that they're on the same page with what they're striving toward. So considering they're all from very different circumstances, and they each have different stakes in this conflict and what they're trying to achieve, it's really interesting to see them like go through each milestone and each challenge and hurdle, like a thing you jump over. It's interesting to see them go through that together and also have real issues with each other while doing it. Even though they're really trying to stay on the same page and be professional, there's only so much you can do whenever, like, say one of the team members killed a family member of another team member. You know, it's kind of, there's stuff they gotta deal with. Yeah. And let's see, on top of all that, what else do I want to talk about? Oh, there was one character that this book turned my mind completely around on. I really thought I was not going to like this character ever. And I can't believe that it made me like this character. I mean, I would still probably have a difficult time dealing with them in real life, but reading them was, oh man, by the end of the book, I really like this character. And I can't believe this book did this twice. Well, I mean, the first book did it with somebody else. The second book did it even more with a different character. I was kind of mind blown by that, because I thought there was really no way I was going to like this character in any way. And yeah, the book made me like this character. I think that's one of my favorite things for a book to pull off, is making a character who I view as really unlikable at the beginning, when the book turns that around by the end of the book, and I really do like that character. Because yeah, I feel like that's just really something difficult to pull off. But this book, Duology, did it twice. For me at least, so yeah. Okay, and in regards notes as well. So as with the first book, Ikenna, our main character, is a black woman who is a fighter and, like, literally a warrior. So physically she's a fighter. Also, in terms of her position in society, she's trying to fight back against this republic that she lives in that favors white male soldiers. So she is very much an anomaly. And her connection as well with the deities that that are sorta acknowledged as real, but like aren't acknowledged as like respected in the republic she lives in. She also has a relationship with them, and I think that's an interesting thing to note if you're looking for a book with or a book series, a duology with polytheistic deities. If you're looking for something like that where they each rule over something different and provide like certain gifts and influence depending on the situation or person, this does an interesting take on it. I find it really interesting, at least. And what else? Oh, I was just talking about the main character. Let's talk about the rest. The cast, as with the first book in general, is like has a mix of people from different races and also nationalities within like the universe, and also different sexualities. I can't believe they actually confirmed the gay ship that I had in my head from the first book. It's for a couple of side characters, and so that was pleasantly surprising. Just, yeah. What else in terms of, is there anything else with representation I wanted to note? So actually I've gone through all my notes. Wow, that was pretty quick. I mean, as kind of to be expected for this being a second book. I'm not spending a lot of time describing the premise, because a lot of that is, you know, book one. But I guess, if I had to say anything else, I really just felt like this book was a really good time. It was pretty fast-paced. It just kept going with each next step and each challenge that Ikenna and the team had to go through, and it just kept getting worse and worse and worse before it could possibly get better. And the things that Ikenna and the team survive is a lot. The book doesn't pull punches from showing just how cruel the enemies are, and how, I just realized that may sound like cool. I meant to say cruel the enemies are. The enemies are very evil, very, very bad, but also somewhat complex, depending on who you're talking about. Yeah. And I think the more that I linger on it, I think it really would have been cool to get a third book out of this, because there were certain elements, like with the gods, and their influence over the planet, and then seeing what happens next after the Blood Emperor and Ikenna kinda conflict, you know, what comes next. And then, like, anything to do with the, how much can I say? Stuff to do with the magic, stuff to do with the politics, and also the relationships between the characters. I think there was so much that could have been explored. The way the book ended, though, I think was a good idea, in that it was kind of going, here's what you can infer happens next, in a sort of positive way. So even though I would have loved to see the words on the page, I am glad the ending, like, did what it could to kind of say, like, there's a lot more work for them to do, but they'll do it together. That kind of, you know, that kind of spirit. Well, to end on a lighter note, I I'm excited to start a different book. We will see. And I'm also excited for an event that's coming up pretty soon on April 18th. If you happen to be in the Lake Jackson, Texas area, I will be at an event. So I guess I'll put a link in the description just in case you want to check that out. It's a pretty small event. I'll also be at a bigger event in October, so if you'll be looking for more near Houston, Texas events, then in October I'll be in kind of upper Houston area. So yeah, okay. Thank you so much for listening. You are an awesome listener, and I hope that wherever you go next, whatever you do next, that it is fun and or relaxing and or worthwhile to you, and ideally all three.